Welcome to Bloodbath and Beyond. Today we review the body horror Tusk. Walrus, yes.
Written and directed by Kevin Smith, this movie stars Justin Long and Michael Parks. This movie is about a podcaster that travels to Manitoba in search for a story. There, he discovers a man that wants to turn a man into a walrus.
Because of the nature of this film, we're going to be spoiling the whole thing. So if you don't like spoiler reviews, please leave now.
So what do we like about this?
I liked how creepy and fucking weird it was.
I thought this movie was Daniel Radcliffe's horns. All I knew was that Kevin Smith made this. And he made it during a podcast.
He didn't make it during a podcast.
Well, okay, he didn't make it during, but like, he came up with a synopsis for it during a podcast, which is pretty cool.
Justin Long finds this weird guy, who played by Michael Parks, via some like creepy ad that I guess actually did exist. In the actual note in real life, straight up says, I'm looking for somebody to live in my house rent-free, but is required to wear a walrus costume that I've constructed for 2 hours a day. Once in that costume, you must act like a walrus and not speak any human words. This was on Smodcast 259. They were just stoned and just talking shit and created this movie, and it's fucking weird.
I really love the twist that Kevin Smith had on this, where imagine you were now the walrus forever. Because the note alone is like creepy enough that some dude came up with this, like, I want you to be my best friend, who is also a walrus.
Just like all Kevin Smith movies, and I'm a huge fan, we all are, it had some awesome humor in it. I mean, as creepy and weird as it is, there was so much humor that just had us dying laughing.
The humor in this is just pretty much poking fun of Canadians. Like, the typecasting of each Canadian stereotype was absolutely hilarious.
Especially Guy Lapointe.
Our Quebec inspector.
Ferme la bouche.
Probably the funniest scene of this whole movie is Harley Mornstein, who's from Epic Mealtime, where he's the border guard coming to Canada.
You may be red, white, and blue, but in Canada, you're red, white, but never blue, eh? Ever.
Oh, it's a hilarious scene.
Being a fan of him and Justin Long, we really got to see like the type of actor Justin Long usually is, which is like kind of like a bickering person that they can banter off of. Throughout this film, he was being that like douchey kind of person to all the Canadians, but he didn't get away with any of it. Everyone just shot right back at him.
Including a surprise cameo by Harley Quinn Smith, which is Kevin Smith's daughter. She plays one of the clerks that Justin Long runs into at a store, which was kind of cool. A little throwback to Clerks, Kevin Smith's first film. And they're doing a new movie featuring her and her friend as clerks, and it's called Yoga Hosers, and it's supposed to come out in like 2015.
I really felt like they did a really good callback with them like not giving a shit behind the counter, just like laughing off all the people in the actual store. And even like during the flashback when they start like with their combs, like, oh, I'm fucking Mr. Mustache. Like, to go along with Justin Long, his banter between him and Michael Parks when they first get introduced to each other, and he's going around like looking at all the different objects. Michael Parks is being so serious, like talking about his like crazy adventures, and then you get Justin Long like making fun of like, oh, this like fucking walrus penis. And then that moment, the movie got from stupid hilarious to holy crap, he passes out from the sleeping potion or whatnot. And then Michael Parks goes on and on about like, yes, Mr. Tusk. And then from that point on, the movie just like had a complete 180, and it turned into like something I've never seen in Kevin Smith before, which is a really serious horror.
I found the cinematography was great. I liked the overall production, the way it was shot, the location, but most importantly, the costume design.
Which was done by Robert Kurtzman, who does Freddy, Wishmaster, Night of the Creeps, everything. This guy's a god.
The walrus costume was phenomenal. It looked like a real human skin-made walrus.
Like a really fucked up walrus.
Yeah, and you can still tell the features in Justin Long's face, which made it even creepier.
Yeah, he actually just like reconstructed the whole body, which is like, oh, so weird. So what were our dislikes?
The main thing I didn't like was some of the lulls in the film. There's a time where Guy Lapointe is talking to Michael Parks as he's acting like a simpleton trying to lure him into a house. That conversation went on for an extremely long amount of time. It went on for probably 2 to 3 minutes, and it really didn't need to be as long as it was. Along with the scene where Guy is talking to Haley Joel Osment and Genesis Rodriguez, it went on for too long. Like, that whole section was about 10 minutes, and they just needed to cut a lot of it. And it reminded me a lot of the long-winded speeches from Red State that drove me nuts. which I believe Michael Parks did.
One thing that really bothered me was that scene with Guy Lapointe where he's talking about like discovering these like mangled men, and then there's always these like holes in their faces. But there was kind of a disconnect. The one thing he was like establishing between all these different deaths is the tusks. So I really wish that was more of a thing, but it wasn't really, even though it was part of the dialogue.
I get it now. I get it. I came up with it. The reason why there are holes, yes, the tusks were taken out, and what the tusks were their bones from their legs that he was making and putting them in there because, as Guy states, when the holes were in the mouth, there was pieces of their legs. It's because he was fashioning them out of their legs.
Their femur and
That's
whatnot?
probably why
that makes sense.
I'd have to say one of my dislikes in this is the pacing of the film. There wasn't that build-up where I thought we were going to see Justin Long slowly transform into the walrus. It was kinda, hey, you just lost one of your legs, and now you're in a walrus suit. Like, there was no real slow build-up, which was disappointing, because it would have been nice to see the whole process of not just, we're gonna put him in the suit, and then try and transform him into the mentality of a walrus.
Now it's time for our final thoughts and ratings. I usually don't watch trailers, and for this movie, I obviously watched the wrong trailer. Coming into it, I had no idea that Justin Long looked as much like a walrus as he actually did. Being Wallace and having a awesome mustache, I had no idea that he was going to become a walrus. I thought the cinematography was great. I thought the story had very little holes and actually was really good. The way it came in the end and how they kind of realized they couldn't turn it back was actually kind of surprising. I thought they might have like killed him at the end. So with that said, I'm going to give this movie 5 bloody walrus tusks out of 5.
As a big fan of Kevin Smith, I was really excited for this. It didn't disappoint. It was really cool, but it played out a little bit differently than I thought. We didn't see the same like body horror stuff that I would have expected. At one point, Justin Long, before anything really happens, he has one leg taken off. He had a phone in his hand, and he calls his girlfriend and tells her to call the police instead of calling the police himself. He then makes a second phone call, not to the police, to Haley Joel Osment, and tells him to call the police. If he would have called the police, a lot of this could have been solved because he knew the address, he knew where he was, and none of this would have existed. And so that's a big reason that I'm going to give my rating like it is. So I'm going to give this movie 3 Justin Longs sipping tea like a gentleman out of 5.
I'm a big fan of Kevin Smith. I'm even a bigger fan of Justin Long. I loved him in Jeepers Creepers, and I loved him in Accepted, and I swear the character in this movie was like the same characters in those two combined. The story was cool, but we didn't get to see that awesome build-up and transformation, but the suit looked awesome, the characters were great, the acting was great, and the film was shot amazingly. So that being said, I'm gonna give this film 4 sweet samurai moves out of 5.
As always, thanks for watching. Like this video, comment below with your thoughts on the film, and don't forget to subscribe to Bloodbath and Beyond so you can watch all our stuff when we make it, and then put it online for you.